Okay, good morning. I'm going to get started. I'm going to be making a track this morning in Ableton Live using Spitfire Audio's Symphony Orchestra VST, which is really cool. I've done a few of these before with Ableton packs, composing some symphonic slash film slash, it's not exactly classical music, but using orchestral samples and instruments to compose some music. So that's what I'm going to do again this morning. I'm really kind of having fun with that. It's stuff that I haven't worked with as much in my career, so I'm enjoying the novelty of it and trying to understand how it fits together. And I've thought that this VST would be a really great would make for a great stream because it's got this view called Discover Mode, or a mode called Discover Mode, where you can actually, it's a bird's eye view of the orchestra pit and of the orchestra, and as you mouse over the sections, it defines them and selects them, so you can actually hear what each section is and does and sounds, which is really informative for me. So like here's violins section 1, and down here on the keyboard it'll show you the range right away, which is super helpful for me because I don't have the ranges of the orchestra memorized at all. This is new territory for me. So there's violins 1, and then it has a little explanation. It says the focal point of the orchestra, although 16 individual players, these violinists blend together seamlessly as a single unit. So violins 2, the supportive backbone of the violins, 14 players in total that give a unique gloss and shine to their sound. This section is the violas, which is a warmer, mellower sound. Adding warmth and depth to the string section, these are 12 violas, are useful in a variety of ways. Cellos, a melodic strength rivaling violin section. These 10 players are great at taking the melody or playing counterpoint with the violins. Nice. Behind them are the basses, traditionally doubling the cello part. These are 8 instruments that help ground the music and can give huge amounts of depth to an arrangement, all the way down to a low C. Wow, that's heavy duty. Okay, let's start over here on the outside. The horns behind the violins, a quartet of horns that can support the harmonic backbone of your music as well as add rich and powerful timbre. That's cool. Okay. On this inside ring here, woodwinds, we got Piccolo. With an exceptionally high range, the piccolo is great for highlighting the specific moments or delighting listeners with trills and rips. All right. Rips. I have to learn some lingo here. Flutes, A3. An ensemble of 3 flutes that can be used for anything, from taking the lead melody to supporting the orchestra as a whole. That's cool. Oboe, A3. Occupying the alto register of the woodwind ensemble, these 3 oboes blend superbly with the whole orchestra. It's like a thinner. Tone. Okay, clarinets, the Swiss Army knife of the woodwinds, useful in various different situations. It's got a warmer sound. Bassoons. Strong and stately. These are perfect for creating supporting rhythmic lines for the rest of the orchestra. Cool. Okay, so we've done all the strings and the woodwinds. Back here we've got percussion, so harp and celeste. There's the harp, and here's the celeste. That's cool. Okay, in the middle we've got large tuned drums, which can be used to support the rhythm and the harmony of the orchestra, as well as a selection of the orchestral percussion. So here's the timpani hits. And here's the untuned percussion. That vibra slap. And then more tuned percussion over here, marimba, xylophone, and glockenspiel and tubular bells, essential tuned percussion instruments and perfect additions to any piece of music. Okay, so tubular bells, doorbells, marimba, xylophone, glockenspiel, way up here. Little Harry Potter melodies. Cool. And then these last sections. Okay, so we've got trumpets, the brass trumpets. Tenor trombones. Bass trombones. Okay, the lowest note is an E. And tubas that go all the way down to a D. One more note. That's nice, mellow, low, mids to lows. Very cool. So that's the whole orchestra broken down by section, which I find to be really helpful for someone like me that doesn't have as much education in the orchestra. I'll admit that I took a history of classical music class while I was a music student at Hampshire College, and it was a big lecture class. And at that point, I had a kind of a chip on my shoulder about classical music, maybe. The professor was very stuffy and seemed to say that this was good music, this was bad music. So I tuned out because I wasn't really into classical music at that point in my growth as a musician. I was much more into jazz, and so I didn't pay much attention. And now looking back, I really wish I had, but that's neither here nor there, because now I'm interested in it, and this is a great way of learning it. I love this bird's eye view. And then you can switch from this view to what's called the core, which is just the instruments with no visual placement, but a little bit more controls over the articulations and tones of each instrument. So it's a really cool package of orchestral samples put together in a really useful way. And this is actually my first time trying to create like a whole piece of music with this VST. So I'm gonna, I'm kind of exploring as a beginner, but I'm gonna first pick a key. Let's see. Let's start by violins. Let's do D minor. We're going to do D minor for this one. I was watching Hans Zimmer masterclass, and he talks about how he always writes in D minor, and his assistants tease him for being a little lazy in that way. But he said the reason is because then his basses can play this low D, because basses go down to C, but he picks D because you can actually have vibrato on the D, versus if they play the open string, which is the C, there's no vibrato available. So he likes that dramatic note with a little bit of vibrato on it, which made sense, and it's something I hadn't thought about before. So I'll try that today, just for kicks. Key of D minor. So, and I've seen a lot of orchestral composition videos where the composer starts with piano and lays out the whole thing, and then takes each part and moves it to arrange to different instruments. And that's something I haven't tried before personally. Today I'm going to do my usual thing, which is just go section by section and kind of build parts on top of each other with that. And I realize that that's a little haphazard, but I like to work that way. So I'm going to do that, and we'll just see how it goes. And I'm going to close this for 1 second and close up my workspace a little bit so there's more room for the timeline. Great. And then, okay, so first instrument, what do I want to work with first? I will probably work with the violins. Violin 1. We'll do violin 1, and instead of the long notes, I want these. Pizzicato. Okay. Cool. Yeah, hey, good morning. Orchestra squad for sure. Let's see, something basic to get started here. So I'm going to start with just the outline of that D minor chord that I'm playing, and something I'm going to add in here so you can see what I'm doing all the time is I made a free Max for Live plugin that all it does is just it's called where is it? Pardon me. Big Keys MIDI monitor, and all it is a keyboard that you can see what I'm doing on the screen. So hopefully that should give you an idea of what I'm playing here. But I've got the Violins 1 selected with pizzicato mode here. Let me get a slow metronome. And I just kind of played that in and then pressed capture, which is up at the top of the interface to the right of the transport controls. Really powerful and cool little capability, which allows me to just improvise and goof around with MIDI until I find something I like, and without having to press record, and which tends, as soon as that red light is flashing at me, it tends to give me a little anxiety or something, because I don't play as relaxed, and the ideas don't flow in the same way. So what you can do is just play until you have a good idea and then press capture, and it retroactively captures the last things you were playing. It's actually listening the whole time. So now I'm going to take that section over to the beginning. And what I'm going to do as well is I'm going to set this up to record quantization of, let's see, eighth notes for now. So that way when I play them in, they'll quantize on automatically. I'm going to need to manually quantize these ones because I didn't have that setting enabled yet. Oops. What do we got? Quantize settings. Oh, that was set to quarter notes, so because of that, it moved everything to various quarter notes. But I just want eighth notes. And that way, if I play everything in to the grid, then I can use a groove later to humanize it or give it a little bit of a swing feel. Hey, good morning. Please feel free to ask any questions in the chat, and I'll be more than happy to answer them if I can. This is my first time composing with this software, or this VST instrument. So we'll see how it goes. I'm just going to copy this section twice and then set up a loop in the arrangement here. I'm in arrangement view here. Okay, and I'm going to set that up to repeat or loop, and that way I can move on to the next part and add something to that while I listen to it. So I'm going to create another instance of BBC Orchestra, and we'll pick something, because now we've got violins 1. I'm going to keep using that discover mode. This is really helpful for me to figure out what's going on here. And let's do something. We can double that up maybe. Let's see. So maybe I'll have it doing the same thing first, and then going up a third. So I'm going to go back and press capture on that and see how I did. Okay, probably need some quantizing. So there it is, just doubled up, and then it goes up a third. And I can have that part repeat. So I'm going to name these for my own sanity here. Violins 2. Oops. This question here: are you about to make an album where you can tour with a live orchestra? I would love to Well, I've been actually working on a bunch of kind of orchestral or kind of, I guess, where the film score is where a lot of that music is mostly played and heard now. And no plans to tour with an orchestra because I can't even find a couple people to play with, let alone an entire orchestra to play with. But I will probably produce a bunch of music like this. And, with my hopes of someday being able to score films with it or make my own music videos that are more ambient or, using my drone footage and stuff like that. But I'm just really interested in it. And it's a sound palette that I haven't messed with that much, being an electronic musician and a guitar player, bass player, drummer, in the studio. These are all instruments that I cannot personally play. But yeah, I'm super into it. All right, let's do some bass. Wait, that's fine. Or some cellos here. Cool. Select all. Now those are not all eighth notes, so I'm going to set my quantize settings to 16th so I don't lose a few of those little steps. Maybe that doesn't come in the first time, that comes in the second time. So let's hear with just this. Yeah, touring with an orchestra would be insanely hard. Touring with a band of like 2 people is extremely hard. And I have lots of experience of that. Touring with an orchestra, just rehearsing a lot of people all at once and then getting everyone kind of focused and in the mood and fed and on time and sounding good and sound checked and everything. It just adds enormous amounts of complexity. So I admire everybody that has done a live show with an orchestra. And I think typically the way it's done is, if you do like Wu-Tang with the Denver Symphony Orchestra or something like that, is that the orchestra is held together by the conductor and the musical director of the orchestra, and they add themselves to the the project the pop project or whatever, and someone has arranged stuff for that whole orchestra to play that's appropriate. Because that's something I'm learning, and it's kind of like, I don't know the ranges of all these instruments by heart. So you could compose a whole bunch of music that then nobody could play, because if you're not leaving, like if it's wind instruments and you haven't left any room to breathe, or if it's string instruments but you've made a part where someone would need like 6 fingers to play, that type of stuff. That's kind of where I feel like I would do if I tried to really orchestrate and then just hire players. But man, it would be so much fun. All right, let's get some horns here. I changed it from cello. I got ahead of myself here. So keep those cellos and add another channel where I can put in those horns. And before I get too much, oh wow, yeah, I would love the VibeSquaD orchestra. That would be so amazing. I would not orchestrate VibeSquaD music. I would totally compose brand new music that would work well for orchestra. But it would be super amazing to compose music for an orchestra for a real performance or an album or something. I'm working my way up to it, little piece by piece. I actually made a couple pieces last week I'm really proud of, and I feel like with a lot more practice I could get good at this. Okay. Saving my project. Sorry, this is like the boring stuff that I need to do that's really important to make sure I don't... I've been calling this OVERDUB Orchestra. Yeah, OVERDUB Orchestra. All right. Okay, cool. So let's start this again. I always have this tendency to put too much stuff in. I think it's the flaw in my electronic music and in all my music is that I have a lot of ideas and I put them all in at once and just layer them all up, and sometimes repeat each section over and over by, with all of these layers. And I think as the writer, composer, I can hear all those parts and how they should separate and stuff. But I don't think that I've done a great job of presenting it in a logical way that the listener can hear all those parts, because if it's all at the same time, then you almost have to pick something to listen to. So that's something I'm challenging myself with, is try to be more minimal in each part and get each idea to be more crystallized and pop clearly, and then use the layering to support as opposed to distract. So that's kind of what's in the back of my head right now. The comment here is, I make a mess that I enjoy and then can go through an extraction phase to make it make sense. Totally. Like, that's one of my favorite things to do, is just sort of make a mess, let the ideas out, and then try to arrange them into a place where the presentation allows for it to be received by someone else. But somehow I get attached to like a lot of parts that are probably things that I need to pull. I need to get more ruthless with my editing. and it's just something I've always kind of had trouble getting rid of the extra stuff, because, you know, what is it, Hans Zimmer in that masterclass I'm watching, he's just like, you have to kill your babies all the time. You know, you have to basically just like let go of good ideas because they're just not appropriate for this piece. So that's something I'm challenged about. It's hard for me to do. And let me make sure I'm labeling these. This is for cello. And this was horns. Let me just hear it from the beginning really quick. Na, na, like I can hear where the next chord's gonna go. So let me see if I can make that happen. Na, 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 na. What I will do is put in new clips here. Okay. So let me chase that idea I had in my head. He's like, nah. So I know that this note I want here. Na, na. And here's a trick, Ableton Live trick, is if you have the Audition headphones, now we're down in the MIDI clip window here, enabled, and you hold down the note like on the keyboard, it gives you this little indication of like where the next note, if you have a selection here, where the next note would go, and you can use your right arrow key to step record without having to pencil it in or press record or do capture or any of those things. You can just step record with the right arrow key. So let's bring in a bass. Oh, I did it again. All right, so I have to be super careful because I keep getting excited and changing the instrument that I'm working with as opposed to add another one. Just little workflow things to remember to not get tangled up and accidentally create this great idea and then realize you're just overwriting your previous idea. I mean, it should be obvious, but it's not to me, and I've been working with this stuff for so long. Okay, we'll go up to the Discover, and we're going to choose the basses. I love bowed upright bass. It's the greatest. This might be a goofy way to go about it, like stacking this up and just hearing it and working my way through kind of chord by chord. And I do see the logic to why a lot of composers just start with piano, get the stuff in there, all the parts in one instrument, and then separate it. But for some reason, I get inspired by each instrument sound, you know, I'm like, oh, that could be doing this, that could be doing that. And also I don't really care about following rules of classical, you know, orchestral music or music theory type rules. I just really want to do this kind of by ear to get something that just sounds good to me as opposed to it being correct, quote unquote. One. So that was an F. I think this next one's a G. So I could do my thing here where I put in a G. And maybe move that down an octave, which is shift down arrow. And this doesn't need to be a really long MIDI note. So this one goes up, and something I do like to try to study and understand is voice leading. And in this case, just interesting movement that isn't always the same. It's very easy to just copy all the parts and make everything be parallel, you know? So if this goes up one step, the bass, then the horns go up one step. And that is, you know, sometimes that works fine. And then other times it's really sounds cool to try to see if there's some movement going like the opposite direction. try that. Oh yeah, I still have Star Wars on vinyl. Man, that was every kid in the world in the 78 or whatever had that record on vinyl. I still have it. It's totally scratched up. I remember trying to listen through the whole thing, but yeah, I really liked the first part and then the Cantina jazz jam. There were like a few sides of music that I didn't even recognize from the movie. Okay, so yeah, that's kind of nice there. Okay. So I'm going to step that in. Cool. What do we got for the violin? This is probably one of my examples of me getting too busy with the layering here. Let's see if that's 16. Oh, yeah. I think that's just too busy of an idea. Something basic. Yeah, with all of the other stuff moving, maybe I have one note that, or one instrument where the note just stays. Or maybe. Yeah. And another thing I do that can be a little dangerous is I get too attached to the thing that's happening in the moment, like the one bar, and forget how it relates to the music, the timeline. So before I get too excited about this one measure phrase, like, does this fit what I've been building up to? So let me start from the beginning, get a bird's eye view, and this is a good moment to remind myself to save. And instead of just save normally, I'm going to do a save as, give it a new number. And that way, if I get far away from, where I want to be, or if I do something that I don't like, then I can pretty easily go back one project step and just be like, oh, this was way better before I got into that whole second part. So it's like laying down some breadcrumbs in my Hansel and Gretel. Now, that could repeat, but I feel like there's another level I can get pretty epic with this chord. So if I want, like, here's what the repeat would sound like. Oh, that's kind of good. What if I did something like this? Repeat that. Let me give myself set some markers, and that's just so that as I arrange, you know, I can sort of see, okay, that's that section, that's this thing, and I'm just going to hear it again from the start. Do a regular save, just so it doesn't take so much time, and just start from the beginning and make sure that this idea is going to work. Because I'm hearing is it repeats, maybe it repeats 3 and 4, and then goes to this next chord I'm hearing, which would be an even, you know, bigger step. I'm gonna turn off the metronome. So let's alter, make this second time. All right, let's bring in another instrument is what I'll do, because I want something to play that up higher. Take this up. So second time. I'm getting in front. I'm too far ahead of myself. So what I want to do is pick the next chord that will happen at bar 9. So let's bring up this bass. That's going to be really lay down what the next chord is. So the bass note. And at risk of repeating this whole thing too many times for you, I need to hear. That always helps me prompt. Like, I get an idea for the next thing based on the existing stuff. And that was a revelation for me, kind of thinking about writer's block, which I have struggled with my whole life. You know, sometimes I'm full of ideas and sometimes not. But in a conversation with Mr. Bill in a podcast that I did with him, we were talking about writer's block. And he said that his philosophy about that is that his creativity is based on reaction versus like just a raw burst of ideas out of nowhere, out of nothing. But that is, if he has something moving, then he can react to it. And the next idea, it gets better and better because it's contextualized. So that was a huge relief for me, because I was kind of thinking, yeah, like if something's already going a little bit, then I can kind of come up with the next thing. That's a lot easier. But just starting from like total darkness is sometimes I don't have anything ready to go. So that always helps. A long explanation of why I'm about to press play from the beginning to get this next chord here. So it can either go further up, let's see. Yeah, definitely. So now let's just duplicate that note here. So this note is like a D. Yeah, that's nice. So it's an A that I'm looking for here, I think. I think that staccato isn't working anymore for this. I want the regular violin legato length or long tones. So I'm going to insert a MIDI channel. I'm going to add another instance of the BBC, and then I'm going to choose violins. Let's see. See how let's copy this, or let's just move that to there. A little less velocity, so and violins 2, or excuse me, we'll do the same thing with the violins 1. Add another MIDI channel. Okay, wait. Too long. And then this is violins 1 long. So maybe some new instrument doing like that note. Let's see. I'm saving over and over because I've had crashing issues in the past when I get a really good idea happening, and I don't want that to happen. Not saying this is a really great idea, but I don't want to lose it. Okay. Yeah. Oh, wait. Yeah, I think I like that. Yeah, it's crazy how unreliable computers are for, you know, you can get a lot done and then it's just gone. So definitely backing up things like crazy these days. that measure repeats. Eventually I'll speed up the tempo a little bit. To do was have it repeat on the 10th measure and not skip a measure. So why don't I just undo that and do it correctly. Sometimes it's just easier to just do it right as opposed to try to fix a mistake. So should go back to the D minor then. I'm feeling that. Actually, there's, I think, another 2 measures worth of like another chord before we go back to the D root. So I'm just gonna make clips for that. This one. Violin's too long. I gotta make sure I keep naming these. Gets confusing fast. Something staccato from the violin one here. I'll put my click back on because I'm getting free with the time here. Just oped. It's so funny because I read OPE and someone making fun of people from the Midwest saying ope, and I was like, oh, I don't do that. I'm from Chicago, and I definitely do that. I do that so subconsciously that I catch myself just coming around the corner, almost bump into someone, I go ope, and it's just built in. And I guess that's a Midwestern thing. Let's see if I got there. Now I'm thinking it'll go back to like this. I'm just going to loop this whole thing because it starts in D minor. So let's see if it goes back to the D minor properly. So it feels like it keeps going. I can almost do this. Yeah, so we're back to the D. That really does come back to the D, I feel like. Yeah. So it's like a D minor second inversion. So F, A, and D. Here's the... Oh wait, that's not the one. So let me rename this clarinet so I remember. alarm is about to go off, which would mean that was 80 minutes, but I did stop to talk a bunch. So I'm going to go just another 5 minutes and kind of wrap this idea up. As you know, this is just part of something. So this will have to be a to be continued. Some of the, I make a lot of electronic beats in 90 minutes on these streams, timer beats style, which is a great exercise for pushing yourself along. But I'm finding that composing orchestral stuff takes more time and isn't as fast of a process, but is worth the extra time. So I'll just do this part 2 soon. Here, I'm going to play it through with no metronome so we can get a feel. And I'm going to speed it up to just a bit, 10 BPM, and see what that feels like. So definitely noticing rhythmically it's weird when it doesn't have any kind of 16th or 8th notes pulsing through, like these feels kind of strange with the time. So I'll need to do something. Actually, part of that's probably because it's not starting right on the one. With like a question and answer or call and response kind of stuff. So it'd be like something, to like push the time through and keep the rhythm kind of intact there, just so it doesn't feel so awkward. And also those note lengths are all different and stuff. So there's like a lot of cleanup that I need to do. But we'll kind of call this the just getting some ideas on the page phase of the process and getting some instruments, picked. What's this one? Okay. Trumpets. work. I might be able to get the rhythm repaired a little bit by going. Save it one more time, and I'm going to listen through one last time and then call it a session today. Yeah, it feels like that's like one statement, and then it would go to a whole another section, different orchestration, and a maybe up high with something starting in that D minor chord again. Yeah, cool. Well, I had fun. I hope that that was fun for you to watch that and listen to that. And I'll be back for some more. So stay tuned. Thanks for hanging out, and see you soon. Bye.